So, thank you, and I want to welcome everyone to our first conversation tonight on this theme of moving from scarcity into trust, from scarcity into abundance, from fear to love. So, I want to welcome Bhaskar Goswami, my dear friend and a master Jedi, to the conversation with us tonight. And I want to welcome some of our guests that are joining us here and will be listening to the live. And I would love to start with a little bit of grounding practice and some meditation for us to stay centered and get centered, I shall say. Um, yeah, so as this conversation is opening, this was about how do we use this time of crisis as an opportunity? How do we use this time to really inquire into this crack of what's happening? The world is on pause. To inquire into it, what is the gift there for you? What is it that is happening in this stillness and this pause? And Bhaskar, I'm really, really honored to be here with you. I know you have so much, of course, wisdom and presence that you convey. And I was really inspired by the poetry that you read the other day, how we don't know what this is and where this is going. And we're in a journey. We are thinking that it's one thing, but in reality, you know, what we're going to get from a few months from now could be, you know, completely something else. But it is a gift that we're unaware of yet. So I just want to introduce you to our the people who are joining us tonight.
I'm so
Is
happy to be here with you and you all.
oh, thank you, thank you. So you're a speaker, you're a teacher, you're a yogipreneur. Thank you. I don't know how many people in the world carry that as a title, but you're an official yogipreneur. And you're also a co-founder of a beautiful foundation called Dana, and it's an organization that offers contribution-based wellness worldwide. So basically, it's really interesting. You know, as we are at the cusp of this new world, there's a lot of that wisdom that we can tap into with you. Yeah, so welcome, welcome, welcome.
Delighted,
Mm,
delighted.
thank you. Would you want to guide us into a little centering meditation or practice tonight before we dive in?
Sure, yes. Let's take about 5 minutes or so to really settle in. So I invite you to come into a noble seated posture, just to have a straight spine if it's comfortable for you. So you allow the body to rest on the bones. So it's an effortless and elegant seated posture. The alertness in the body is conducive to an alertness in the mind. The chin is tucked in slightly to release the back of the neck, and the tip of the tongue is resting on the upper line between teeth and palate to relax the jaw. Arms and palms can be in any comfortable position. When the body is arrived, stable and comfortable, arriving with the mind by simply noticing anything that's happening right now at the level of sensation. If your eyes are closed, even with the eyes closed, there may be some lights, colors, or images. There may be ambient sounds, taste, scent, touch. There are obvious sensations, like the weight of the body resting on the chair, or touch of the clothing against the skin, or the movement of the breath in the front torso. Gently guiding this present moment mind to witness the breath moving inside the nose. As if noticing the breath inside the nose for the very first time. Following the next in-breath into the body, and with the exhalation, dropping the awareness inside the body. Dropping in. The entire body glowing with awareness. Revealing galaxies upon galaxies of sensations. Obvious sensations. Subtle sensations. This body, all the flesh and bones, organs and tissues, trillions and trillions of cells, somehow organizing, collaborating with such profound intelligence to co-create this living system called I. And if we really stop to notice, the only suitable response is awe. As if lost in awe. Nothing disturbs. From this state of awe, I invite you to repeat with intention, inhaling, I trust in the good things coming. Exhaling, I trust in the good things coming. I trust in the good things coming. I trust in the good things coming. And gently deepening the breath. When it feels right, softly opening the eyes with the in-breath. So nice to be with you.
Mm. Bhaskar, thank you so much for this beautiful centering, grounding meditation presence that you bring us into. And to me, this is it's a big conversation here, and I highlighted quite a few topics that are quite condensed. Is how do we move into the space of good things coming, trusting
Mm.
that the good things coming from here. And I wanted to share this with you that in, hang on, let me just open it first. I'm still getting to know Zoom to, its best, you know, ability. So this is the Chinese symbol for crisis. And it consists of the two symbols that actually has one signifies danger and the other one signifies opportunity. Um, and this is they're actually the two are in one. They're not separate. So it's in these times of crisis, worldwide crisis, or an inner crisis, that there lies an opportunity for us to awaken to a different reality, to move some things, to create that shift internally or externally. Sometimes it can be provoked by something else from the outside or from inside, for us to wake up and turn things around. Um, I know that whenever people get either sick or this awakening, something happens to them that this pushes us into thinking differently, um, bringing something else into existence. Especially when we are facing, there's a question of life and death here. Um, I hope you guys could still hear me. Yeah, okay, good. Um, so especially when there is the thing of a question of life and death here, to me as a shaman, um, I welcome death. There's a part of me, of course, we talk about it as a metaphor to what part of me is dying, what part of me is an old belief, an old knowing that is no longer serving me. So, what can I invite in? Like, what's on the other side of that transformational piece? What's on the other side of that fear for me? Um, so, it's beautiful that you started with that centering and grounded meditation, because for us to, especially if we want to bring our work out in the world, and I want to welcome Julie here, Hannah here. Uh, hello. Um, yes. So, I know, the people who are tuning in, they're either working online or, looking at other possibilities of, oh, what is the shifting world that we're going into? Like, it sounds like life might not be the same, and Bhaskar, before hopping on the call here yesterday, we were talking with you about how, there are different possibilities here. How sometimes some people, um, might be waiting for just for life to come back to normal, and it's like, uh, you know this is one possibility. Is life just going to go back to normal, and we're going to just pretend like nothing happened, or there's this a little shift happened, but overall we go back to our normal life. Another possibility is like there is a lot of fear happening, and we either protect ourselves, or toughen up, in some kind of way, and maintain more distance, you know and use this as a separation thing that's going on. And another way that we can look at it is we can actually invite this wave that is already occurring. This other day I had this image of, like, we're here in the mountains, so I had this image of an avalanche that is just happening. It's already coming, rolling down, and we know that it's coming. And I can't stop it. I can't come in front of it and be like, stop, this is not really happening, but it's already happening. But what can I do with it? The
Mm.
question is, what can I do? Maybe I can surf that. I can dive in, and I can create a new way of being here. So the question that I'm asking myself is, like, what is the solution here for me? What can I come up with? What is my creative piece here? um,
Mm.
so the questions that I wanted to stir up for us today is, there is this duality, and it's a complex conversation. So it feels like these conversations are going to be chunked out. So I'm going to be inviting some other guest speakers, and Greg is going to be one of them next week. Um, Alex, I know you work with online world with funnels and stuff. So, maybe, we can have you and talk about that whole online mystery world, what's going on there. But to me, I wanted to share my story first of all. Is like, I've been working online for the past year already. And I wanted to say that for me, it came about from that place of tapping into my inner world, my inner gifts, and actually quieting everything else down. It's like there's so much out there, especially right now. There's so many, invitations and workshops and things that are occurring. But what is that piece that belongs to you, that is so unique to you, that is your unique gift, that only you have? And, I've been a yoga teacher also for a decade of my life. And one thing I learned is, teaching yoga is like we're all teaching from hatha yoga sequence. But the way I'm going to convey it, and the way Bhaskar is going to convey it, and the way Hannah is going to convey it, is it takes a whole different form. It's a different expression, and different people will resonate with your style and ways of teaching, and different people are going to resonate with me. So even if sometimes our gifts are similar, your way of doing it is exquisite, is so unique, that the more we can actually own that, the more we can step and create that uniqueness in the world. So I would say step one is really questioning, what are your unique gifts that are unique to you? Maybe it can be like super goofy or funny, or I know, Bhaskar, you speak to people through stories.
Yes.
Um, I don't know if you have a story or something to share with us for tonight. But that's like your entry door. That's how you speak to people, and that's your unique gift. So the number one question that I have for those who are listening is, what is that unique gift? What is it that you love, coming from joy? What gives you joy? What do you love? And what is that unique gift that's unique to you? Um, and The qualities of that gift is, when you are doing it, it's effortless. You can do it for ever and ever and ever. You never run out of, like, creativity or time. You don't get tired of doing it. it actually, when you're in service of doing it, it actually feels like it fills you up, so it's very fulfilling. So the number one question is like, put as much, words or definitions. I want to invite you guys to brainstorm on this. We're going to have a time later on in the call to have some partners share. But if you haven't done it, take some time in your life to just write and journal about that. What is your unique gifts? Maybe ask some friends, what do you think my unique gifts are? Because sometimes we're a bit shy and we haven't been taught to really own our gifts or talk about our gifts. We've been like, do a little gratitude journal on our gifts. And sometimes asking other people is also really helpful, about just asking, what do you think my unique gifts are? And they'll tell you, like, when you walk in the room, you bright up the room. You have such an amazing way of tapping into your body that it makes me want to tap into my body as well. Or your unique gift is like, you think outside of the box, that, if I'm running out of ideas, I want to come to you and knock at your door and ask you, let's brainstorm together. I have, other friends that just bring so much joy or party on, that is just like, wow, I just want to have a good time while I'm doing this, So the number one question is, what are your gifts? And yeah, so Bhaskar, I had a question for you about, we talked the other day about, this opportunity of how this new world is coming together. A possibility, let's say the possibility of a new world coming together, where people are actually, we can live better with less. We can share resources, we can share our talents, gifts, whatever that is. And you talked about needs. And I think, how long did you have Dana for now?
It's been 4 years now.
Okay. It
4
seems like it's
years.
been longer
Longer,
than
yeah.
that, because it's been so big and, present. But with Dana, I feel like that's what you do, is you highlight some of those needs, you provide spaces for people to be in generosity. But my question is about the needs. Or however you want to answer that. But
Sure.
you had something really interesting to share about having our needs met, especially in this time of scarcity, where people are probably afraid for their basic needs being met, or secondary needs. So if you can.
Whew. You have touched on so many beautiful and profound subjects. First of all, I do want to honor what you said right in the beginning, that there is a glitch in the operating system right now. There's a portal that's opened up in the business as usual in this window that we have, and we're kind of open to a field of many possibilities, almost unlimited possibilities. It's no longer mechanical. So something has opened up for us right now, and there's a story actually that I accidentally came across, which is interesting in itself. Caroline, my wife, she's not working right now, so we're tidying up all the books, and she asked me to do that process where you hold the book. The Japanese lady, I forget her name. Anyway, you really connect with the book, and if you want to keep it, if it feels right, you keep it. If not, you let it go. So I was doing this with all the books. There's one book that came to me, and I didn't get a good read on it. I'd never seen the book before, so I just opened the book. At a random page, this story came in this random page, and the story goes like this. It's a short enough story. It's from the Sufi tradition, and in that tradition, there's a character called Nasruddin. So Nasruddin was walking outside his town, and suddenly the plague came by. And Nasruddin asked the plague, "What are you doing?" And the plague said, "I'll be honest with you, I'm here to take 10,000 lives." So the plague goes into the town, 100,000 people die. And when the plague comes out, Nasruddin was furious. "How could you do that? You told me, you promised me you'd take 10,000 lives. And the plague responded, "I was true to my word. I only took 10,000 lives. The rest died from fear." So this story kind of points to, we're in a portal of unlimited possibilities. And like you said, there are people who are choosing different stories. One story would be a very fear-based story, doomsday and this sort of a thing. You know, another story is, as you also said, let's go back to business as usual as fast as possible. And there are many of us who are saying, hey, there's an opportunity here. There's the break in the system where a new story can be told. Now, the old story was literally constructed. It was constructed, by the people like Rothschild, Rockefellers, Getty, and all those people. They constructed this mechanistic story that's really been based on fear, greed, control, power, and so on. And that's the story we've been living for several decades now. And that story is kind of run its time. We have a possibility now to tell a new story. And no longer needs to be old men locked in a room. Now we can have a collective global story in occasions like this. What's the story that I wish to live in, that I wish for us all to live in? And what does that story look like? And the old story was based on some fundamental truths that fear, greed, control exist in the human condition. There are also some other truths. For example, kindness, generosity, care feel really good. The laws of nature are such that when we're in a state of kindness, compassion, care, it rewards us with very pleasant sensations. And when we're in the field of fear, greed, scarcity, hate, it punishes us with unpleasant sensations. This is kind of the laws of nature. So what if you built a story around the opposite? And that's also based on some truths. One truth, as you pointed out, Marina, so beautifully, is that we are all born with very unique gifts. This is called our dharmic potential, our dharmic seed. We're all so unique in our own ways. External gifts, athletics, carpentry, gardening, cooking, so on, and internal gifts, kindness, compassion, patience, and so on. So taking stock of our gifts is very, very valuable, as you've said. So there is a fundamental principle here that we're all born with unique gifts, abilities, attributes, talents, knacks, traits, and so on. The second attribute is we all have the ability to share our gifts. This ability exists in all of us. We can share our gifts. And the third truth in this equation would be when our needs are met, we're much more willing and able to share our gifts, to collaborate and co-create. And the fourth is when we collaborate and co-create, when we play to each other's strengths, support each other's weaknesses, when we do that, then we become exponentially more creative, exponentially more genius. It's what I call the Beatles effect. Individually, the Beatles were all very good. John, Paul, George, Ringo, they were good musicians. Together, they're the Beatles. It's exponential. So we're living in a time right now where that kind of collaboration and co-creation has never been easier with anybody in the world. So knowing that mechanics, we can sort of sit together and wonder, okay, how can we best discover our unique gifts? And there are ways to do this. How can we set the scene where our needs are met so that we are more able to collaborate and co-create? And, you can have a musician in Japan with a carpenter in Brazil, with a web designer in Bosnia, suddenly doing things that were never possible before. So that's another reality. I would sort of land this by saying that we are in that field of possibility and we can sort of see which story do I want to double down into? Which story do I want to support? It's not so much what do I need to do, but what is the magnificent story here that I want to be a part of? Yeah. It's almost like a musician. You may be a very good violin player, but playing by yourself is so-so. Once you join an orchestra, suddenly you can do so much more. And it's not about the violin player. It's not about the maestro. It's not about the orchestra or the audience or the hall. It's about the music. What's this beautiful music that I wish to contribute to and to contribute to it wholeheartedly. And meeting our needs is absolutely fundamental for that story to be true.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Bhaskar, for naming those in order. I love your mind, how you're brilliant and mind of an engineer, yogi, spiritualist, mystic works, and how you connect everything. What I'm noticing, and I work with women for some time. I've been working with women for some time now, And I notice how we are conditioned to, like, almost like it's like, what story am I investing in my faith into? Where am I investing my trust, my beliefs? Am I investing them into media right now and feeding that fear, or am I going to invest them and create a new story, a beautiful story of my life, of my heart, of a dream story? So it's almost like this reprogramming of the mind and the heart. I've been doing some of that brain and heart coherence lately, because in my experience, people will defend so much of what their old story is, and give you so many proofs of why that story is valid, and how they got hurt, or how business is tough and rough, and how online business is saturated and complicated, and they'll defend it. And right now, what I'm hearing is, like, when we're shifting into this new world and we're discovering our gifts, and time is no longer an issue here. We all have the luxury of time now to journal, to quest, to dream, to create that new world of our own world, as above, so below. So creating this new world first internally, but then sharing it. How you said, step 2 is sharing it and being reflected and sharing that with someone, maybe in your inner circle, and sharing those gifts. And then when something beautiful happens, when you dare to share that, and there's a reflection that comes from them, and they go, oh my God, that is so needed, or you impacted my life, it's such an amazing way, it creates that exponential effect that you were talking about afterwards. And talking about that, I want to address Greg Rux here in the room, my dear partner. And we were talking, Greg is, of course, got so much wisdom also, and we're going to do a separate session on this conversation. But today I wanted to invite Greg to share your wisdom of the principle of procession. Do you want to share that with us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And Bashkar did a terrific job of setting it up. One of my most powerful mentors that I never physically met, but I've studied hundreds of hours of his books and videos. His name is Buckminster Fuller. Has anyone heard of Bucky? Hannah? Okay, great. A few people. Bucky was known as the gentle genius. He was around the same time of Einstein, and he was the guy, if you've never heard of him, he might know of some of his inventions. He created the geodesic dome. They have a big one up in Montreal. They did it for the state fair up there, the World Fair, I believe. This geodesic dome is a very unique, it's the lightest, strongest structure known to man. And one of the things that Bucky did was, he was in his younger years, when he was like in his 30s, he had his first daughter died from polio, and that, in combination with his frustration with trying to start businesses and trying to do these beautiful housings, and he tried all these inventions to save humanity. He was very much a humanitarian. He had a hard time getting along in the business world, because those tycoons that Bashkar referred to, the Rothschilds and those guys, they're ruthless, and the way they did business, he couldn't find balance in that business world. So he was actually about ready to kill himself. He was going to swim out into the ocean and not come back. And he heard this voice. There was a crack in, as Bashkar put it, there was a crack in the awareness for a moment, and he heard this voice clearly speaking to him, and the voice told him, you do not belong to you. You belong to universe. This is not about you, your little life. This is about your gifts. You are here to do something. This is not your time. And he was so taken by that he went into 2 years of silence. He spoke to no one for 2 years, because he said, I need to figure out what this message that God told me to do, what am I going to do? He realized that what he was being asked to do is, he was being asked to put total trust that good things are coming. And if he was told basically his meditations told him that if you put all of your thought, your mind, your heart into serving humanity, your needs will be taken care of. You just have to, with full intention, put your heart and soul into your gifts, your talents, and leave these to the world and let me take care of you. You do your work, I'll take care of you. So he went, this is the craziest story. Now, the only reason I know this is because one of my best friends and one of my mentors, his name is Marshall Thurber, he spent the last 10 years of Bucky's life with him, traveling around from university to university, teaching these principles. So Bucky had this mission. His mission for the last 50 years of his life was how to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest amount of time possible through spontaneous cooperation without the disadvantage to anyone or our planet. Now that's a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? He said, the only way I'm going to be able to, one little person, and back then there was 3 billion people on the planet when there was only 3 billion. Now there's 7 point some billion. But back there, he's like, how's one little human in this globe of humanity, how's one little person going to change humanity? And he realized the only way he could do that is to employ what he called generalized principles. Bashkar, you're referring to them as natural laws, but basically his definition of a universal principle is something that was eternal. There's no exception. These principles are interaccommodative, meaning they're happening all at the same time and they don't interfere with each other. They're interaccommodative and often they're synergistic. And the third rule for a generalized principle is it must be so predictable. There's a mathematical equation that you can prove it. So I've been trying to pick up and take where he left off with studying these universal principles, applying them in my life, and then teaching them to others. And what's great about universal principles is they always work, like gravity, leverage, synergy, integrity, abundance. These are universal principles. They always work. They never don't work. Now, this is the one I'm about to share with you. Gives me a lot of calm and a lot of peace of mind. It's called procession. And you guys have all seen it in your life. You've seen it in nature. It's all around us. And procession is basically, you know, when you drop a pebble into a still pond and the energy going down this direction, when it hits the pond, the ripple goes out at 90 degrees, right? So procession is a principle, and he's a great metaphor, a great story about bumblebees. So let me share my screen and I'll show you the visual on procession and how bumblebees are a great example of procession. So the bumblebees over here, he leaves the safety of his hive and he goes out every day to the dangers of the birds and all the other predators. He's going to go out there and he's going to this flower. And what he wants to collect is he wants to collect the nectar and the pollen. And he brings that back home. That's his currency. So we as humans, we have a goal. We go out every day. We have our job, our career. We're going after things. We move through life. And as we move in this direction, that's step one. For procession to happen, you need to be in motion. So the good news is that we're always in motion. And so procession is always happening, right? So but what happens with a lot of people is they get so fixated on the goal, they're attached to the goal, to the outcome, they don't realize that the second part of this rule, the law of procession, says that procession always happens at 90 degrees of the goal. So what you think is important is really not important. The processional effect is the gift, the true gift, is going to be out the corner of your eye. It's going to be, if the goal is this way, the procession is going to be this way, this way, this way. It's going to be at 90 degrees of the goal. So in this case, when you're looking at the bumblebee going after the nectar, something much more profound is happening. And the true gift is always, number one, it's unpredictable. Number two, it's got a higher purpose. And number three, it's more significant than the goal itself. And in this example, the true gift of the bumblebee is pollination. And without that little bumblebee, we wouldn't have life on Earth. As a matter of fact, some scientists have said that within a matter of just a few months, if we lose our bumblebees and we lose pollination, all the botanicals die, and then the whole food chain just dies. And next thing you know, we're a barren planet, just like Mars, where we're just fried. Everything is burnt because we lose our ecosystem. We lose our atmosphere. We lose, because guess what? All those trees that we're chopping down, those are the lungs of our planet. So as we exhale CO2 to all these plants, they breathe in our CO2, convert it into oxygen, and they breathe out oxygen. And so there's this beautiful harmony, this perfect symphony of life that's happening. So when I remember, and sometimes I forget, when things aren't going the way I expected them to go, when I've got my blinders on and I'm thinking, oh, I've got this goal, I'm going after this goal, it's supposed to be this way. If I forget to look off to the side and see where the hidden gift is, the true gift, it's always more significant. So right now, as we move through this challenge, we have goals. I want to figure out what's my gift. I want to figure out how do I bring my gift out to the world now when I'm stuck in my home. But there's processional gifts that come from this, that once you get that goal done, something else more significant is bound that are showing up. How many of you have already started noticing some unexpected, unpredicted gifts from this crisis, right? What are some of the gifts? I see this couple over here up in Montreal, Cam and is it Kathleen? Catherine?
Carolyn.
Yeah. You know, these surprises, these unexpected gifts can come out of this tragedy, right? And I would challenge you, as Marina's asking you to go inside and check in with your gifts, and Bashkar's asking you to trust that good things are coming and understand that these things happen in sequence, is how can we condition ourselves to start paying attention and looking for those gifts? And then when you find those gifts, how do you fuel it? How do you nurture that? How do you take it to the next level? How do you expand it? So I just find a lot of comfort in knowing that. In my book, I wrote a book called Stoked, and I taught this principle in the book as one of the heroes learning about this, is that everything is perfect. Even when it doesn't look like it, everything is perfect because there's a bigger plan. There's a higher order of things happening. And this law of precession says that when you're in motion and you're moving after a goal, if you pay attention out of the corner of your eye, something more significant is going to be there. All you have to do is keep your eyes open. And once you see it, celebrate it, and then take advantage of it. So I'll turn it back to you, Marina. But I think for me, the law of precession, along with the law of abundance and integrity and synergy, there's so many great principles that we can use to start having more faith, to have that extra confidence that everything's going to work out. We're going to get through this. Matter of fact, I'm not just going to get through this. I want to be better on the other side of this thing. I want to say, what's the blessing that's going to make me a better person, a better leader, a better coach on the other side of this? And I'm looking for those processional events as we speak.
Thank you so much, Greg. You have so much wisdom, and I really feeling like, we need a full-on, session with, we'll pick one of those universal principles that Bucky taught, and he predicted this particular time in our lifetime. So he's been waiting for this to happen. He predicted so many things that are occurring right now when he's no longer around. So there's definitely so much wisdom that we'll be extracting from this with you. So thank you so much. And I wanted to come back to us, and I'm going to turn off the recording right after this. And I also want to mention this principle that Greg is talking about, the precession principle. It's and I teach from that too. It's like the mind map or the heart map. It's like when you plant a little seed that is connected to your heart. When there's this your heart whispers to you, go somewhere, like do this, and it might sound like it's a crazy idea. It doesn't make sense to the mind, but it feels true in your body, it feels true to the heart. So there's this goal that if we are connecting to that goal that's sitting in our hearts and we plant that, let's say, but life is not linear as we know it, right? So like we are that bumblebee that is chasing that heart goal. So it's important for the goal to be centered in the heart, that rings true to us on many levels: body, heart, mind. It kind of, we welcome it into our life, and we start moving towards that goal. So we create a sense of momentum, and we're moving towards it. It's not a straight line. Very often it's a zigzag. It might lead us to other places, but it's not a final destination. Sometimes what I've discovered, it's not a final destination, but it serves me almost like as that momentum. So it gets me in motion to start moving my butt, moving my wings and moving towards that goal. And doing that, it always brought me to incredible places, incredible gifts that are beyond my own imagination, that are, like Greg just said, the complete 90 degrees of my periphery, my vision. So I really wanted to invite that opportunity, plant that seed of trust in all of us, and reinforce that for each other as well, that there's something happening here that's beyond your own imagination, beyond my own imagination, because I'm sitting also with my own concerns and little fears and the what ifs, and across the border here. But I trust that there's something amazing that is occurring that is beyond my imagination. Yeah, and I feel like turning it on to Bhaskar one more time for uh, final words that are coming to you, for me to pause the recording, and then we have a little mastermind here. I'm inviting for people who are listening, you can join the direct Zoom invitation and join the inner circle. And the link is in the invitation. And I'll turn it over to Bhaskar for final words.
Well, I just so resonate with everything you and Greg have shared. This notion of unique gift. There are 3 children in my home right now. They're all sleeping or semi-sleeping, and they're all so different. One of them is a 2-year-old, and they all have such unique characteristics. One's a dancer, one's an athlete, one's intellectual, and so on. We're all born this way. It takes a lot of skill to remove it from us. And most of us have gone through an education system that's kind of done that homogenize, our uniqueness. So, I take the analogy of, say the market only values roses, and you're not a rose, you're a orange tulip. The no amount of crying or praying is going to change you into a rose. You can shout it, you can beat it up. It's just going to become a bruised orange tulip. So, to really find out what our unique gift is, it's almost helpful to go back before we got into the conventional education system, to ask questions like, what was I drawn to when I was 3 to 5 years old? Was I into sports? Was I, in nature? Was I, caring? Was I cooking? What were those things I was drawn to before the expectations and the fears were placed on me? Some other ways to explore this notion is, where do I lose track of time? That's an indication of where your bliss is. What are things people compliment me about, what Marina said? And also, what are things that I know come easily to me, but other people have a difficult time with? Just taking a very objective stock of all of that. What are the people that I get inspired by, and ask myself, how do they do that? There's a reason why I'm curious about these things. For example, I love tennis, and I watch tennis videos in slow motion. Why do I do that? When my neighbor doesn't, most likely, because there's something there that speaks to me. So discovering our dharma, and again, to Greg's point, it's not about me. It's about the gift. It's about discovering it, mastering it, and offering it for the benefit of others in a way that's collaborative, co-creative. And when we can do that, according to the ancient Vedic texts, going back at least 7,000 years, that's the way to thrive. That's the only way to be happy. In fact, if we don't do that, we will not thrive. We may have all the external furnishings of success, but inside us, we feel hollow because
Mm.
that wasn't me. That was somebody else's story, not mine. So, so yes,
Mm.
knowing who we are, I think it was Einstein who's credited to have said, everyone's born a genius, but if you ask a fish to climb a tree, he'll spend his whole life feeling foolish. So it's so important for the fish to find the water, the monkey to find the tree, eagles to find the air, deers to find the forest, So knowing where you play and this quality of effortless confidence, where you don't feel like you're working a day in your life, because it's just who you are. It's an extension, expression of your fragrance. Um, we are in the cusp of having a strong potential of creating a reality where this can flourish, and that's the big opportunity here. So
Mm.
thank you, Marina.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Thank you. Thank you for, you know, reminding me of that yogic wisdom. You just wake it up and me as well. And actually, this weekend I was in nature, and there was this wisdom from the nature that was dropping out the sacred three. And you mentioned that too. How, the destroyer, right? The nurturer and the creator. So there's like force of three that's ever present. So as it's happening on a global level, it's happening also on the micro level. So for us to dive into that is, we're at the cusp of something new, yes. But what is it that's dying in you? What are some of those like old ways that are no longer working for you, that don't ring true anymore? That was maybe your old vacation, but you don't want to do this anymore. It doesn't sound like it's what are those ways of being from your heart? So there's something that's being destroyed here. And that's what I mean by this like metaphoric death. So what are we letting go of? Because as we describe it, it happens in one instance, but it's really could be a period of time of letting something go and nurturing the new and then creating the new. But it's like I'm asking you those three questions, like what are some of those old ways that we are letting go of? Maybe the old triggers, old patterns, shadows. So what are those old pieces that we can say goodbye to? And what are those new inspirations that ring true to your hearts, that are like resonating with you right now, that are like, yes, I want more of this. Yes, that is something in me that's been yearning to come out. Maybe they're like tiny little whispers or tiny little sprouts right now that they need to be nurtured. And in some time, as we nurture them, then they come into creation. They come into form. So for now, everything is in formless, and then it comes into form. So, but it comes from within, like what you started with. So thank you for those of us who were with us live, and I'm gonna stop that.